Okay. Today is the 9th of April, 7:01. Call the meeting to order. We have two non-attendees, Adele and Tracy. So if you'd like to see Mr.
I'll make that motion.
Pete Margaret for
Tracy.
For Tracy. Well, I don't know,
Adele.
Tracy, let's do for Adele,
For
because
Adele.
Tracy might come.
Yeah, for Adele.
So you make the motion?
Yep.
You second? All those in favor? Aye. So moved. So we're just gonna kind of wait, because our first agenda item is to review the preliminary budgets from the Board of Ed. I did speak to Rob yesterday. He has a fire department meeting, so he'll hopefully be able to come in. I don't know how long Chris is gonna plan on taking, but
You want to approve the minutes?
yeah, we could do that. So I'm gonna jump down to approved minutes from 3/12. You all got a copy of those? So I want to make a motion to approve the minutes.
So
Well, you have to make a motion. Want you make the motion?
I will.
Okay. You want to second it?
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved. And then while Rick's here, we could wait, we can jump over to the monthly reports that you sent out. Rick, did you
Yeah,
want to?
guys,
Sorry?
really nothing changed since last month. Again, I still think, well, we're definitely gonna be over in the building inspector's accounts just because of we're really doing well in revenue for permits. And then we still have the assessors, which I told you about 2 months ago, just a lot of stuff. She don't have a lot of wiggle room. I don't see her being over more than $1,000 on the whole, but just so you guys know. So those are the two departments right now that look like there might be issues. And on just line item stuff going on, phone bills are coming in much higher. So I'm assuming most phone bills will be off by like maybe $70, $100. Or just every rate is going up. I'm trying to think. Beach and Rec, her ADT bill jumped 14% this year versus last year. So she'll be over like, I think like $68. That will show up on next month's report, but there's nothing crazy on there. The only one, the fire, when Rob comes in, he'll talk about his line items. He has some big ones on there.
Yeah.
One's the gear, which I've been talking about how FEMA reimburses, I believe 98%. So he's taken advantage of it, but it is causing him to go over. So even though he looks way over now, we're going to be getting monies back to cover most of it.
Ricky, we're going to get the reimbursement this fiscal year?
Yep.
You think?
Actually, I just saw one today for $4,200. It
Okay.
goes really fast. I do have to ask Rob because he bought, I don't know, one of it was he bought 12 suits.
Yeah.
And they reimburse only 10, but I think he had to buy 12. I mean, it's still a great deal. So I don't know what that does I don't know if he's getting that full. I don't think that might be more than a 2%er. So again, he'll know more when he comes in. Again, I don't think it has any impact on his overall department. It's just, again, you see these line items that are over, in case people ask you, that's what's going on.
Right, so that one was 283% over.
We have one more, we had a well pump fail. And so it's gonna be between $3,600 and $4,000 to replace that. It should be getting replaced tomorrow. So you'll see a significant, well, probably $4,000 increase.
You know what that does to the total?
What share is that?
Eldridge.
Well,
That we'll have no problems with that one. It'll still be covered under the department.
Okay. And that's just failed last year before?
year before, we had lightning strikes before.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask them why. Only like a year old.
Right.
Yeah.
Ground out the well casing, right? Or is it?
It's all bonded.
I apologize.
No worries.
Good.
You're here.
Ag advisory, 6:30. Warrant Finance Selectmen tonight,
Gotta figure it out.
Litchfield tomorrow. Anybody want to go for me?
I'm good.
I'm a big fan over there, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you a drum? Is that your name now?
what is it?
Drum?
No, the devil.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
We are recording, just FYI.
That's okay. They say the same thing about me behind my back, so I have no problem. I do have a copy of the presentation. I don't have it digitally, but it is online, so I would like to review that if that's okay. It's good news. It's good news in Morris.
Yeah,
There's money coming. There's money coming back.
do you want him to pull up the online version? Or are you good?
I'm good. I mean, I don't know. I can walk through the slide deck.
I'm gonna save a copy for Tracy and Adele.
yep.
Alright, we have that.
We can leave it upstairs in the box.
And this is available online too. This is the superintendent's recommended budget. The Finance Committee for Region 20 will deliberate this budget on Thursday. We are at the point now of doing staff budget presentations. There will be again a BOE meeting on April 11th, where they will either adopt or adjust this budget. The budget hearing is scheduled for April 22nd. It is at Wamogo. People have asked, just because they like to ask about everything these days, why not Lakeview? It's Wamogo until July 1st. Budget meeting, which is the vote, is May 6th. I will ask that, remember this is per capita voting, so encourage Morris to turn out as much as possible. When you look at enrollment projections, trending down for Goshen, Litchfield, and Morris. Warren is the lone real consistent. Overall, the district 5 years ago went from 1,507 students, resident students, to 1,387 resident students. When you look at projected enrollment at the elementary level, the areas we are really concerned about, pre-K and K, this is as of March 1st. You'll notice them in yellow.
Yeah.
We used to be at a time where, a Litchfield would be 70 students, Goshen would be 30 students, Morris would be right around where it is, Warren would be 10 students. And we're looking at K-5 elementary enrollment, 112 students at GCS, 95 at JMS, 207 at Litchfield Center, 42 at Warren, and 118 at LIS. We have to monitor these fluctuations year to year. The good news is we are now on a 5-year rolling average. We're not on an annual average. We have to look at sustainability. And by that, I say we need to develop choice programs. We have 9 students tomorrow or Thursday that will go before the board as tuition students. We have to double that number, triple that number in the coming years. And if we don't, we're going to face what comes in the coming slides. I'll explain that.
What our JMS is this year?
JMS this year is currently
Cause there was a big,
95, you have a 10 coming out. It's about not count, I don't count the pre-Ks because they're not compulsory. You're about 105 right now.
you had a big pre-K this year, right?
We had a big pre-K, but not all those pre-Ks are staying. That's the other piece of it. Some people use us as pre-K for daycare, for early childhood, and then they bounce to private schools. Just the change post-COVID. Everybody, every town, all 4 towns has a different income level than it did pre-COVID. So we understand that we're not retaining all of our pre-K students.
Do you have a sense?
I'll say it's about 5% by school, and it changes.
They will retain only 5%?
No, we'll lose about.
Oh,
Lose
okay.
about 5%.
We're watching 6th grade. Is there an attrition? We have not seen it yet. That's the good news. Right now, the middle school is looking at 334. I will say in 5 years, it's below 300.
So even with our projected affordable housing coming into the towns?
Hasn't changed. And some of it is affordable housing brings us 2 or 3 students. And then we lose 2 or 3 students to a private school. It's a wash. High school, 422 plus 192 out of district right now. Ag recruitment is essential. There is been a fascinating ongoing issue with the budget and the General Assembly. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But we have currently applicants from New Milford to New Hartford, to Naugatuck, to the Farmington Valley that we're sitting on. Because people want to come to Wamoga. And as I just explained to Ag Advisory, the ag program on the Hill will be Wamoga. That is not changing. That is the statutory name of that school. That is the FFA name of that school. So it will be the Wamoga ASDA program at Lakeview on Wamoga Road, because the board has determined that they're not changing the name. But we have to continue to be aggressive with our recruitment. Projected revenue, you'll notice 4 lines that are currently in yellow. We are watching ag tuition, ag grant, ag supplemental. It's been a fascinating legislative session. I'm sure Tom has been watching it. The governor stripped $50 million out of educational spending, 6.2 that was ag related, about $410,000 that was ours. And then the General Assembly and the Appropriations Committee said, we pass. And that's the first time in 15 years that committee has passed on doing anything. They literally just said, we're not changing last year's budget. Come negotiate with us. So there's going to be a period over the next month before the session closes on May 6th, where there's going to be a back and forth. All of these first 3 highlighted, and arguably including excess costs, are all vulnerable. These are conservative estimates. Again, we could be 400 to the good. We could be negative, but I just wanted to paint the picture that right now, this is the middle ground. There's over $5.4 million of external revenue. As you'll see on the next slide, this is beyond Region 6, beyond Litchfield, the most transparent of outside revenue. You have Perkins grant, after school grant, Title I, IDA. We landed a right to read grant, which is a competitive grant for $178,000, a mental health grant for $120,000, a Connecticut Grown for Connecticut Kids for $22,000. What's that going to provide for? That's going to provide for laying hens. It's going to provide for incubators for pigs and incubators for beef. Not incubators in the sense of devices, but actually starting a herd. Pre-K tuition miscellaneous is up, non-resident tuition is up. While I don't like the interest that we face on loans, I love the interest that we get on our average daily balance, and we still need to address to the farms. The big slide in terms of town assessments. Right here in Morris, a negative $710,000 to the town of Morris on this regionalization.
Is that over, that's not over 5 year?
That's your 1 year difference.
Yes, 1 year.
That's 1 year, $710,000 difference.
So how does, just in terms of the state money that's highlighted in yellow, how does that impact, like, that 710,000? Doesn't at all?
You have a state revenue, which is external revenue.
Yeah.
And you have local revenue, which is your contribution.
Yeah.
This budget calls for $35,700,000 of local contribution. Of that, your share goes down in Morris, $710,000. Tomorrow night, I will hear it's not enough in Litchfield. So I'm going to ask you to turn the page to the next slide. Which is called battling inflation. The second from the bottom is where we are today, both districts combined. The final line is where we are next year. You have read about your other towns, 2% increase, 4% increase, 8% increase. Danbury, 19% increase. Right? We have, for this year, beaten inflation. And I will say for this year, because I'm going to talk about what we need to do next. When you look at real savings to the towns. Goshen, 878, Morris, 875, Litchfield, 1.95, Warren, 503,000. Over $4 million savings next year between assessments and rebates to our 4 towns.
It's pretty amazing since we still have the same building structures in place.
And I'm gonna talk about what we need to do next because there's more to get. And that more to get is important when you need to look at contractual increases, when you look at long-term viability, right? I mean, you cannot operate, Warren's never gonna close its school, Morris isn't gonna close its school, but I can't operate an intermediate school at 120 students. I got anywhere from 800,000 to $1 million of savings right there.
Yeah.
On power, on oil, on facilities, on custodial, on administration, where it's just not needed. This is step one. There's good numbers in step one, but if we don't continue to move forward and be aggressive, we fail. Because we will eat all of your savings and everybody else's savings in the coming years. And then we'll be in a situation like, I need 2%, I need 4%. And that shouldn't be, because there is more to get. This is the low hanging fruit of just regionalization. All right, expense projections. Red are closed, green are new. It's up, the full budget's up online. I'm gonna give you an example found on simplifying budgets. We're closing accounts, opening new accounts. We eliminated 400 plus redundant accounts. Imagine, who knew, right? And what does that look like? That is, I pay Google from the Litchfield side, I pay Google from the Region 6 side. I've done it for 5 years in this role. I paid Power School. I pay the oil company. We stopped all the redundant accounts. And in doing that, there's savings, but there's also clarity around it all. So what you see in the full budget is every single line item, Region 6, Litchfield, what was the combined and what will be Region 20. I look forward to next year when there's only Region 20 to present. And we show the variances. When we look at projected expenses, on the next slide, there are contractual increases of 4.25% for all non-certified and certified staff. This budget currently contains less staff. Why the increases? This is the first year of 4.25. With all respect, it doesn't keep up with Social Security. It doesn't keep up with inflation. And we are approaching a time when a teacher is gonna earn $110,000 a year. And we can debate it. There's not much you're going to do about it because everything just goes up, it never goes down. When you look at the big savings, employee benefits are down $800,000. So we got really aggressive. We went out back to the market. Anthem came in, Anthem, who had been killed on the municipal market, bid lower than everybody else. So much so that we have Anthem for health, for dental, and for vision. One-stop shopping. And next year, there's a cap increase rate of 7%. So we are not biting in. Even if we bite into it, we're not biting much into the 812.
That's actually really good.
The state plan's up 12%. When you factor in where we are to the state plan, we kill them. And this is on top of zeros on zeros on zeros on zeros.
Is there a minimum student enrollment per teacher? Say when Morris at one time had a combined grades.
Yep.
And I'm looking at like small towns like Warren, when you have a classroom that has 6 kids in it and you're paying a teacher average the regular salary. I mean, is there a rule saying that you have to, I just wonder how you get around it, because if you have a classroom that has 4 to 8 children in it, like my daughter's class had 8 kids in it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of blows my mind that you'd have all that staff and faculty and support services just for that.
So we'll do it for a Morris on a 1 year because we know it's rolling through. On Warren, where it is consistent across all the grades, we've actually gotten a little creative in the new world. And looking to the future where if I have 4 teachers, you may be teaching 2nd grade English, 3rd grade English, and 4th grade English. Well, you're teaching 2nd, 1st, and 3rd grade math. You've got 4th and 5th grade math, and that's how we're getting. So we're moving away from the blended concept, which was the concept of the past, and we've moved more to very creative scheduling. Is it ideal? No, and that's why we need to look long-term at Warren. We just have to acknowledge we're never closing Warren. It's not even the smallest elementary. Bridgewater is like 27 kids. But we have to figure out ways to fill some of those empty classrooms and bring us some revenue. And maybe that's early childhood, maybe that's full day pre-K. I have a meeting with those parents tomorrow night because they're in angst. We have to find a different way. But 8 kids is not ideal because the other problem you run into is not that it's a teaching model, it's a social emotional model. And we've got 7 in the room right now. Tom and I don't like each other. I'm just gonna let you know. And Tom did invite me to his birthday party. And my mom's extremely ticked off that I didn't get invited to Tom's birthday party. So I don't invite Tom to my birthday party. And now we're not talking to each other. Right? And we start to understand the social emotional piece of this, where now, okay, my mom says, I want my Christopher to go to Litchfield Center School next year. And she opts for school choice. So now we're not at 7 in the classroom, we're at 6. And that's another reality we're feeling. And that's where we got to stabilize this. 12 to 16, 17, we're fine. 18, we're fine. 23, we got to split them, because if I don't split them in Morris, why did I split them in Litchfield? Why did I split them in Goshen? Right? So this is where it fluctuates on a daily basis. We just got 2 new arrivals in Morris effective May 1st. Stop taking in people, Tom. Right, so that's going to change the classroom side. It's all fluctuating, and it's a challenge. I'm not gonna lie. It's a small district challenge. We're better served for it today than we were a year ago because I can flip somebody from LCS. Or I could flip somebody from LIS that I didn't have the ability to flip a year ago. But it's a challenge.
So, unpopular question, does Warren have to stay in this district? Do they not have a
I'm
closer
being recorded.
district?
I'm being recorded right
No,
now.
I'm just
right?
saying they have a closer district to them physically.
So for that to happen,
For that age group, I'm saying, just.
Warren, we would need to have the board recommend to go out for a study. That study would need to recommend that we don't want them part of the district anymore. And all 4 towns would need to agree,
Including Warren.
including Warren. And
Saying from a cost perspective might be good for them.
they'd be no better, I mean.
No better, no worse.
No better, no worse joining 12. And I'm not trying to push Warren to 12, trust me. These geographic lines were drawn so long ago. There's no reason why Bethlehem, which is more of a farming community, should not have been part of Region 6. And Warren should have been part of 12, right? We won't even get into the Litchfield conundrum because Region 6 took camp in that town. The historical study of all this is fascinating. But I will say there's more work to be done. When I look at it, Litchfield Center School was built for 500 kids. You could put 500 kids in that school tomorrow and close the building and not even think twice. That's a win. That's an easy win, and it doesn't hurt the town of Litchfield or the other 3 Region 6 towns. Those are simpler plays. There has never been in the history of the state a region to join a municipal district. It happened. And there's never been anybody excommunicated, for lack of a better word, from a regional district. And I just don't see it happening.
Capital and debt line, that's all capital.
That is capital, that is Region 6 debt moving forward, and the first part of Litchfield debt.
Looking through.
Third up,
Expenses,
third up from the bottom.
Okay.
If you look down at the bottom, we're going from 42 million combined to 41,156. With the 800,000, 68,000 reduction, capital is also included to go up because part of the plan includes $1 million in capital.
Was that on here?
Yep, it's all included.
Right down there.
Oh. So it's 1 million too.
It's $1 million too. That includes debt for Region 6 and Litchfield. And I will say without a current agreement with Litchfield, I have no debt agreement and no property agreement with Litchfield right now. I'm done with Region 6. I was done in December with that.
Well, that went back to the towns, the excess, right?
No, so that's not the capital. The capital goes back to the towns. So it's $524,000 that will get distributed back to towns. Part of the regionalization agreement is a property transfer. So Region 6 owns James Morris School, so it's part of the original regionalization agreement. That is being moved to Region 20. Very simple process. It handles between two boards. In Litchfield, you have a municipal building. That's how municipal districts run. The towns own the building. The district doesn't. We have not yet finalized the property transfer from Litchfield to Region 20. I have 80 days. I don't know. And we are planning contingency because on July 1st, I have my extended school year for special needs students to be scheduled at Litchfield Center School. It's one of the buildings I'm doing the least amount of work on this summer. And I don't know if that's a reality or fiction right now.
Because,
I don't have a transfer agreement,
so they can't go into that school without it being part of Region 20.
right? Because I can't have staff in there. I can't insure it. I have no ability to open it, and literally it's an unknown.
Right, okay.
You know, people think, oh, it's about coaches and colors and mascots. This is a $70 million property transfer. And without real estate commission, that just makes it feel better. So that's where we are today. And that's just part and parcel for all the work we're doing.
You had general agreement when,
So we have binding law by the regionalization, which was blessed by the selectmen and the Board of Finance. What they came to find out when they surveyed is, while the Region 6 properties were clean, outside of a few permits that were pulled in the 70s and never got closed, there was nothing sitting there. Constitution Way, I don't know if you're familiar with it. Constitution Way is actually part of the school property. There were no surveys on the Litchfield property. The Litchfield Board of Education agreed to pay half of the survey with the town of Litchfield. Region 20 wouldn't touch it, and Region 6 was not our problem. And then we find out the Constitution Way is actually part of the school property. Well, what don't we want as part of the school property? I don't want Constitution Way. I'm not plowing Constitution Way, and I don't want to deal with Brandywine. So they have to do a lot line revision. That means going to planning and zoning. That means getting approval from planning and zoning. That means a public hearing.
right, so then would the town of Litchfield
Transfer it to the town.
take possession of that road?
They have to take possession of that road.
Right.
Because
Any maintenance, paving?
it's very similar to what happened to Wamogo Road. Back in the 50s, Region 6 took possession of Wamogo. Wamogo Road is not a town road. We plow it, we sand it, get help from Morris on it with the sand. When we're in a jam, and thanks for that, Tom. But this is how Region 6 has run for 70 years. This is just a conundrum. I mean, and then you got the Plum Hill piece of it and the cutouts, and you have the solar field cutouts. So we own our solar fields in Region 6. We pay a PPA, power purchase agreement. Litchfield is going to own their solar fields because they have an agreement with their PPA, which is a pass through to us. It's fine, but that all has to be done. I know in 80 days we're going to get this closed. No, so That's why I shaved my head. It really wasn't for St. Baldrick's. I just was going for, get rid of the gray as quickly as possible. I will, major costs, we know what they are. They're certified, classified employee benefits. They eat everything in terms of a major budget. Some staffing adjustments, we're down to, as I said, 9 undetermined placements. Since the referendum, there have been 50 staff movements, currently 79.37 resignation, retirement, or attrition. By the referendum plan, we have to be above 75%, so we're doing a job. Insurance and benefits, movement to Anthem, minimum savings. We are going to implement the science and reading program, K through 5, right to read grant over $170,000. We're waiting on legislation so we can expand ag enrollment. We're working on the utilization of Arethusa Farms, secured a Connecticut Kids grant. We will have a full middle school ag program, the first in the state, 6 through 8. Enrichment, we will maintain all of our instructional supplies. We are going to provide before school and after school coverage at our schools. Part of this is just on the time change and the bus change. We're going to do it for the first year, see how it works, see what the interest is. We will increase field trips and experiences and accesses for all students. We are seeing, partially because of inflation, partially because of reality, we are seeing a greater need in our students. Our free and reduced lunch population is going to move up. Despite the influx of, out of district, out of state families, there is a greater need amongst our families. We saw it this winter, even though it was a warm winter, we saw more requests for fuel assistance, electricity assistance. So we're just constantly monitoring that. We will maintain 6 full-time social emotional clinical services through our partnership with Ed Advanced, Greenwoods, and CGR. We have put 2 clinical sites, 4 social workers in our buildings during this pandemic. And I will say, concerned for the future, when federal funding runs out and the state funding runs out, we're gonna have a problem because we are doing right now 80 hours a week with Greenwoods and clinical services. And that is 45-minute sessions and 15 minutes for documentation. So it's literally, we are running 80 kids a week to a private psychiatric service.
I was saying, was that a state mandate that we have that amount of staff on hand, or is that just?
That was us being aggressive and we went out and sought a grant because we saw during the pandemic 2 groups, a group that just didn't come back and a group that came back a little different. I really love this year's kindergarten class because they're far different than the last 2. This year's kindergarten class still believe in what I grew up on, which is you pig pile at recess and you play tag. The last 2 grades did not. They were in that 6 feet apart, don't touch anybody, you're gonna spread, great bug. And you also saw that with our kids. They got used to sitting at home behind the Zoom. They got used to sitting at home and not engaging. So that is our greatest concern.
Chris, is the farm, I saw it on, this was $250,000.
Correct.
For just running that farm?
That is land lease, running the farm, all in 125 acres. Next week, we'll be back to work. The weather holds. It looks like a nice week. We have students working there. That provides for our students to be working there. That is going to be planting 10 acres. It's going to be bringing on a herd of beef and pigs. It's going to be 100 laying hens. That is our working agreement with the farm. It's a land lease, which allows us full access to, I would say, the best ag campus maybe in the country.
Yeah. Is there revenue potential?
There's a huge revenue potential. That's, I said earlier, I haven't reached an agreement with the foundation yet. There is a revenue potential. There are some barns we would never touch. And, we could use a space. There is probably 40 acres that we can't hay. We don't hay, by the way. If anybody here hays, the work, the process. It's not simple. Birds, combines and kids, bad luck. Can we bring in revenue from that? we're working on an events barn. Can we bring in revenue from that? There are 2 rentals that are available. Can we bring in revenue from that? Going rental in Litchfield right now is $3,000 a month for them.
No, to maintain the field, can you have have private people pay the field for you?
So we will have private people hay the fields for us, but one thing we are looking at is, we understand they have a cost for their fuel and their labor. And we have a need for some hay back for our animals. Can we do a swap here? What's the profit margin on this? We've gotten aggressive on every little last nickel. But so yes, there's revenue. There's actually right now in this budget about $100,000 of revenue. We'll see where we end up. Like I think right now, just 2 rentals on houses are $65,000.
We'll pay for the maintenance of all the buildings and the fencing and everything.
Our students have been doing it. Our students did,
Any idea what the foundation's gonna pay for?
foundation will pay for capital needs. So they're gonna pay for, our roofs. Our students are gonna go around during spring break and go back into the barns. We've probably got 30, 40 boards that just didn't stand the winter from different issues. They're gonna tag those boards, start pulling them, and then we're gonna go back to the foundation, say, I need 30 boards to put here. They're in charge of capital, they're in charge of the wells, they're in charge of, the generators, the power, everything else. We're in charge of the day-to-day grounds, which for our kids is happiness and joy. And you tell a kid, oh, you don't have to go to study hall, you can go get on a 0 turn and go 4 acres. Thank you, please, and can I do it again? And I have one of those kids, so I know what it means to be 80 minutes in a room. I got a smile down there.
I'll say hi.
Oh, okay. When you talk about certified salaries, monitoring enrollment, student need, ag recruitment, staff attrition. We are gonna update our curriculum office to really focus on our K-5 students, particularly in literacy. With direct services 30% of the time, instructional resources 50% of the time, and instructional leadership for our staff at 20% of the time. That's been the biggest impact of the pandemic. Besides mental health, it's our young readers. It is our K-3s, K-5s. They're behind, I'm not gonna lie. We're still exceeding the state. We got one to do. Rough staff count. We will here in Morris, right now, we're looking at full day pre-K, morning and afternoon. Projected expenses with return classified staff, 118. This is less 3 custodians and less 4 paraprofessionals than we were a year ago. Again, based on need, based on what we have, but
I mean. I don't know, were you planning on going through the whole thing?
I don't need to. I mean, I'm happy to.
Well, no, I'm just in terms of looking at the numbers, I mean, okay, numbers looking good for next year, health insurance. Got a cap of like 7% on increases. What's the salary increase? It's 4.25 for next year.
Correct.
For this year.
Yep.
For for the 24-25, what's the 25-26?
4 1/4.
4.25?
So we are at 12 3/4 over those 3. It's 4 1/4 each year.
Okay.
And I will say right now, if enrollment doesn't change, I'm down staff again next year.
Okay. Well, that's because one of the things I'm getting, just looking at sort of big picture, of just thinking about percentage increases. It's looking great this year, but just sort of like.
20% over 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I was talking with a retiree today who started in 1980 at $7,000.
Mhm.
A new teacher today starts at $52,000.
Mhm.
If a master's, it's 56.
Yeah.
8 times. Right? 7, 8, 56, 8 times. This is not sustainable, folks. I can't even pretend. We did well in year 1.
Yeah.
We can hold in year 2.
Yeah.
I need a building by year 3. And then there's gonna have to be if enrollment doesn't change, besides layoffs, there's gonna have to be another conversation about what comes next.
Yeah.
Because you can't run schools at 40s or 100s and be economically viable. I'll share principles all day long. I can't share security, I can't share a nurse. If a kid comes to me and they need a one-to-one, this model in our state is broken. I mean, I've said it, I've said it for 7 years, and many of you have been around this table. This model cannot, we're in a good side of it. I'm not friends with many of my colleagues right now who are asking for 4s and 5s and 7s and 8s. I come to a board of finance and board of selectmen and say, you're getting money back. Right? That's not heard of right now.
Yeah.
But in 3 years.
But in 3 years, that's the reason I'm
In
asking.
3 years, in 4 years, 5 years, in a decade, you're 20% higher than you are today.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to do that to scare anybody.
No, but it's
But that's-
a fact, it's a fact of life.
I never thought when I first started teaching, 2000, I made $27,000. These are gone. My parents make more than I made as a teacher 25 years ago.
What were they proposing for a minimum salary at the legislature?
So the legislator,
What's the idea?
legislation is currently proposed and it's through. We'll see where it
I
gets.
think they stripped the minimum, did they?
They haven't, so it's still out there, but it would be for 25, 26, it's $60,000 minimal for teachers. That's the first year out of college. Paras would be half that.
Okay.
And I say this because this is not. I mean, we fight tooth and nail on oil. We have a $500,000 consortium now, includes Morris, includes some others. We sit there and broker all winter long. Many districts just pass it on. Our power to the solar, we're paying 13 cents a kilowatt hour. I know at home I was paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour with delivery and everything else before I went to solar. We're running out of options.
No, I get it. I'm just looking, you're beyond year 2, year 3 kind of thing in terms of, just thinking about your capital needs and.
So the way the plan is written is your assessment cannot go up
For 5 years.
for 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to eat into $700,000. The bigger question is, how much is Litchfield eating into theirs to balance it off? Right, they own 56% of the pool. So I have, in theory, $200,000 to play with there. I got about $700,000 to play with overall. And that's if there's not a force majeure or some other, inflation sequence.
Yeah.
Right? We pay right now $37 for a case of paper. We paid 19 a year and a half, 2 years ago. So what are we doing? We're going to a paper cut system, which basically limits.
Excited.
Yeah, I give you these aren't gonna hurt you. But that's it. Benefits. Anthem got aggressive.
I'm impressed with it because I just went through this with my schools. So you did well.
So we have one last trick in our sleeves for insurance. And we have not played it in 7 years. We have to go to self-insured.
Yeah.
That's the last card I have to play. When I go to that card, we're gonna get another negative. And then we're done.
My school's self-insured up to the $50,000 stop loss.
And that will be the last card we can play. But there's not much else. I mean, I've got 10 to 20 retirements that are coming in the next year or two. That's gonna help because I'm taking 105 off the books and replacing them with 55 or 60. That will help. But there's not. The only way forward, if enrollment doesn't change, is going to be layoffs or increases. Or closing a building. And I've expressed it to the Region 20 board. I don't need a 4 or 5 for 120 kids.
You can't increase student ratio to teacher to offset the. Well, I mean, that's not great.
Yeah, we're gonna be in the 18-20 range at the secondary level. The problem is the elementaries. It will always be the elementaries here.
Yeah.
That's the hardest, it's the hardest year-to-year fluctuation. And what I get concerned on is I have a 22 in Morris, I have a 23 in Morris. Unless any of you want the phone call. I remember 23 in classroom is, okay, it's contractually allowed. But the comment back's gonna be, Warren's got 80. We have 22. Right? That's, oops. Somebody said no.
I'm just joining, I'm getting ready for this gentleman.
So that's gonna be the big, to the point, Reese. This is not. We are where we are. We're proud of where we are.
Yeah.
Is it sustainable? Nope.
No.
None of it is unless we continue to raise revenue that offsets town revenue. That's been our goal for 7 years. That's what kept us going. We have a few more tricks left. Not much more.
No, I think it's just important for people to remember that, in terms of where we are right now.
Yeah.
And I will say, when you look at other towns, other districts, and this is. I'm sure Tom gets this at the COG and every place else that he goes, and you hear about it. The average in the state has been 3.5% over the last decade. Our average, Region 6, was a 0.5 last year.
And
Over
flat.
7, right? It's been 0. And we're negative. There's a big chunk coming back. And what I hear everywhere is, well, where's that gonna go? I don't know, not my problem. That's what I say to everybody. Because personally, I believe in saving for a rainy day, and the rain's coming. There's no way the state budget holds up long-term. There's no way these federal relief programs hold up long-term to keep bailing people out.
I see a lot of students utilize the federal money for positions, and now like Winston.
Yeah.
It's hitting them so hard, it's.
I think Winstead's 5.8. Just to put it in global perspective, Denver is a 19%, 27 million. They will be laying off over 100 educators. They put everybody on the ESSER money and the ARP money.
Yeah.
What didn't we do? We put nobody on the ARP and ESSER money.
Yeah.
Said Chromebooks, technology, anything that is doable doesn't cost. And I will say kudos to the sixth board because they listened. They did not take the bait that the other towns did. That's huge. And that's part of where we're able to be there.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Anything else that anybody needs?
No, so the vote, I guess, we won't know until after. May.
It's May, but I will say, remember, it is a popular vote. This is far different, right, than when it was just Morris, Goshen and Warren, right? Litchfield has 56. If everybody shows up, and I'm not gonna pretend that I am popular in Litchfield, for a lot of reasons right now. Plenty of which Tom knows, because we've been holding the line on things, like debt being passed off to the district. That wasn't part of the deal. And I took a strong line. No, we're not having it. We're gonna need the Morris community
To come out and vote.
to show up and understand that this is good for Morris, like it's been all along, and and that's important. So I just wanted to share that message because I don't expect a ton of negatives out of Litchfield, but you never know. And for the Region 6 towns, it's the best numbers you've seen in ever.
Since I've been here.
Yeah, so
Are you having a public hearing?
we will have a public hearing. It is April 22nd.
Capital projects for JMS.
Capital projects from JMS right now are showers. It's for the emergency piece.
We may have some grant money that could go towards.
Oh, I would give you a hug right now if I wouldn't get in trouble. We have some lighting issues.
Yeah, there's some EMPG grant money that would be available for shelter showers.
I would happily match if you can. So if you have a number to match on that, I would be a good partner in that, so. Those are the main ones for JMS this year. I think long term, the next year is gonna be start on Windows.
That's
The windows are 30 years old. They gotta go. So, and that will be a fun summer for everybody because they're wall units. So you're cutting out big rectangles, pulling them, and there'll be big holes in the wall before they put them back in. It'll be a fun look during the summer.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate it.
That's the next one. Done with meetings tonight?
That was meetings tonight. You wanna come tomorrow for me?
No.
Come on, please.
Oh,
Cool. Thank you, Chris.
Let's go.
Pretty on the BZ.
Don't let them get to you.
Thanks. It's only a kidney or two. I don't.
That's all right. The
Have a
birds
good night,
rest on their bike.
everybody.
Hey, do I need to? Do I need to see Tracy back as a, or did you?
No, we sat it down.
Oh, okay, that's all.
So you're welcome. You ready to go, man?
Yeah, my student do look crazy. Also.
Okay, thanks Rob for coming.
Yeah.
Here is your proposed 24-25 budget. Looks like, just generally speaking, I think we're up
A little bit.
a little bit. Water system, I don't know, you wanna run through any of this stuff, highlight any of it?
It's just small increases. And this year's budget, I'm worried about next year's budget.
Okay.
Why?
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 Well, what's happening is OSHA is
What?
OSHA
Oh, yeah.
is adopting quite a few NFPA standards. That are gonna have quite an impact on some
So
of
the ocean mandate you see going up next year?
Hmm?
The ocean mandate you see going up?
No, actual training budget, yes, OSHA mandate, gear. Those are the main three off the top of my head.
Did that bill come out of a committee for CTO should? Or C volunteer fire departments? I think they were voting on it.
I'm not too sure.
That's not a good thing.
No,
Us.
no. See, right now, we're not an NFPA. We don't,
What does that mean?
NFPA, Natural Fire Protection.
Fire protection.
Right, we're not an NFPA state. So we like gear, training, stuff like that, we stick to that stuff. But now it's gonna be official, the standards, they're adopting their standards, so it's gonna be set in stone now.
Okay,
So
so that's additional training meetings?
additional training, gear, stuff like that, yes.
So is this something you could project out so we could split it between the 2 years, the two budgets?
This year and next year, well, right now, it's still in. There is a plan for it to happen, it just hasn't been official yet, so for me to start trying to do it this year, if something changes, it would.
I think something's gonna change. I think there's gonna be more responsibility when all is said and done.
Mhm,
That's my mind.
mhm.
So I'd expect for the worst.
Expect for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah.
Huh?
Expect
For the worst, hope for the best.
It's mainly just that this is a very conservative. I always try to do a very conservative budget.
That-
And
Not
next year's
saying
next,
that, you do a good job. But anytime they get their hooks in it, fresh bite, then they take a bigger bite
Mhm,
and make the person that's eating get the bigger beef.
mhm.
No,
There was a,
very s-
I think you had bought, Rick had mentioned it earlier, you weren't here, for this year, some new equipment.
So yes, the fire company purchased a new boat, it's a Bailey boat. It's a 14-foot, it's all plastic, there's any rubber, there's no chance of this leaking or anything, it's a well-built boat. Of which we're looking for reimbursement, through a grant.
What about the fire suits?
Oh, the gear, well, we received an AFG grant through federal government. It's a $42,000 grant. So far we purchased 12 sets out of it, of which the town got reimbursed or is in the process of getting reimbursed. Is Rick still on?
Rick said that we reimbursement only for 10 so far.
I think something came in recently.
It's coming in very shortly, in the next couple of days.
Yeah, because you had to do something additional information they needed and then they.
Right, and I did.
It'd be fully covered.
Yes, minus this cost share to the town, which is a little over $2,000.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're on the capital review board, right? Are you not on the capital equipment?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so you're in tune with the needs of the future.
Right, so do you have any, I think there was another truck that was where you were looking at? I think.
Well, engine 5 is almost done.
Okay,
Really not looking to purchase anything right away, but keep putting away for the future, which is in capital.
yeah, I can go over that. Did anybody have any other questions on these line items?
No.
Here, look. I'm trying to see which one.
And the biggest increase was our building maintenance.
Yeah, which was,
6,500.
$500 increase.
$500 increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything
there was
else.
just a couple of like $500 ones.
Yeah.
It wasn't like major.
Okay,
The only one that was like physicals and hepatitis went from, that's just 4 to 6, but that's like a given. I mean, that's.
For an interior firefighter, our physicals cost about $350 per firefighter.
I just wanted to go to this, which was the 5-year.
Do you go up to East Main Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, same place Litchfield does.
So was there fire company, utility truck?
Um,
Oh, we're gonna have the committee come in,
Okay,
to go over capital.
mhm.
didn't know if there's anything on here you wanted to point out.
Nothing that I just engine 3 and
Engine 3.
utility, and there's nothing else. The fuel system, that'd be really nice, but like, we gotta go over.
Okay. Okay. So do you, I guess when would you know about potential increases for the final year?
I'll probably know by this fall. Definitely a good idea.
And do you think we'll have to start funding it by this fall, or do they give you a leeway? They give us a time.
That's tough to say. I mean, it's a show. I
I
mean,
mean, if they mandated that.
it's not,
You
it's
have
not.
to catch up.
No, I think there'll be a grace. And it's a big step. I mean, the OSHA standard for gear is that standard is one of the standards that's gonna get updated. So the standard that they're running under now is a helmet, pair of work gloves, long coat, and 3/4 boots. That's OSHA standard, right?
And what do you think it'll go to?
Like we're running now.
Oh, right, okay.
If you buy new gear, it's to NFPA standard. Any gear manufacturer would be insane to try to sell you a non-approved set of gear.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Anything else, guys? Appreciate it.
Nice one.
Just update you, like I said, engine 5 is almost done.
Yeah, you think we'll take possession of that this summer?
It has to be by June 30th of this. Has to be here.
And the old engine?
That has to go to auction, right? Pretty much. Yeah, so I'm doing an inspection, going out the 29th of this month. Myself and another guy from the fire.
Did
We have to go out to Illinois.
Are they still a 501c3 or are they?
Yes.
So does the auction money go back toward the fire department line or to towns?
The town bought it. Yep. That's town funds.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
No.
Questions?
we can ban this.
cool. So you got, I'm sorry, the boat, you said you got a grant for that, so that's not.
Well, we're looking to get half reimbursement. The boat cost us 14,000, around for just a little bit shy. It's like 13,900 or something like that. So I put in for half through the Northwest Community Savings, their grant, see what happens, you know?
Okay,
And that was purchased with your funds?
Company funds, yes.
Jet prop,
What?
is it a jet?
No, it's a Honda, 25 horse Honda. It's got the prop protector on it.
Okay.
that Gets us.
not an airboat.
No. Airboats. Love that thing. It's the best sound in the world if there's a water rescue on the lake.
Yeah, right, someone's coming for you. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you much.
Thank you.
Stop sharing. Other items, so that was the two items we ran through the monthly report. We approved them. Any other business? We want to bring up? Kyle, so I'm not gonna be here next week. I don't know if you guys want to just cancel next week. Kyle said he would on the 23rd. I think we should try to get Sandy Beach to come in. Do you have contact that I could to have them come in on the 23rd? And then also Beach and Rec and Senior. I don't know if we want to do all three on the same night. Why not?
Well, it'll be quick.
Okay. So we'll try to get all those three lined up for the 23rd. I'm not sure if Joe A has a public. Public comment?
I was just gonna ask him, which may be a stupid question, but in your just in your mental wanderings, what is it what do you seem to feel? What do you seem to feel for the future? It's like we're gonna go through a bad put out the Dukes type thing and then be friends again and all this stuff. And I just don't have a good feeling. I mean, I just with this whole, maybe it's something they go through every time.
Let's talk about the election.
Huh?
Talk about the election? The election?
Education budget.
You know, I'm.
The education budget.
I'm concerned about this merger.
Oh, the merger.
Oh, this? Oh,
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know.
So.
Yeah.
In what he's saying, and I actually just jotted a note, because if he's saying, if Chris is saying, you know, good times for 4 years.
Right.
So for those 4 years,
It's gonna be like.
for those 3 years
4 years.
preceding, then maybe this is a time for us to look at that stinking capital list and start chopping stuff that we know that we're not gonna be able to pay for without hammering the local, or
Or cutting other places.
yeah.
Yeah, but
So
you're gonna start raising taxes.
we don't want to raise taxes, so if we can be proactive and tackle
Yes.
those capital projects.
So what do you want?
Instead of spending 50 or 5, I mean, they go through it, but we actually mentally come together as a group and say, this is what we'd like to see as a decrease in the mill, whatever's left over and whatever we put aside. Then we
What would
could
you
tell
like to
them,
Increase the mill by?
What was that?
What would you like to see the mill decrease?
Well, I'd have to see the final number, but I agree with Hunter, because that's one of the things I was trying to drive towards in terms of looking at like, you know, 3-4 years down the road. We're gonna get through.
proactive, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the fourth year where all of a sudden shit's really gonna hit the
You're gonna
fan.
be eating up that 700,000 in the next 4 years.
Absolutely.
Right.
Oh, no, totally. No, totally.
But if we can chip away at that capital expenditure,
So you take your $400,000 CapEx budget and you make it
4
zero.
years is for millennial now.
What?
That's freaking millennials the way.
I'm
No,
gonna,
but it is.
I mean,
it is,
it's
Trace. I mean,
a lot of-
if we can cut the mill, put money aside to like bump into the capital, it's a win-win for everybody because we're forward thinking in terms of what.
yeah, keep it.
Last meeting, I said cut the mill by half a mill rate and go from there. That was my.
That's what I'm saying. We just,
Budget.
exactly what she's saying. We come up.
That's what I said
we
last
come up
time
with a
around.
number,
So,
We do our fund.
We don't
balance the way we
overcut.
should,
Correct.
And then we say,
no, but I think you got a cut. I think you're gonna be expected when
Yeah.
school comes back
Agreed.
with $700,000.
Oh, no, I agree,
You
Tracy.
gotta
It's
cut.
just, if we're content with like 500,000, yeah, I'm going into that mindset. But I think we need to do something like that.
I mean, just looking at the numbers, last week, that's where my mind settled, is that you gotta give 500,000. If you can give 500,000 back and
we were looking at
get half the
seven,
project's done, then you'll be ahead of the
looking
game.
at 750 something, right? For overage, and a mill is 479 right now.
A mill is 175,000 plus or minus, how's that, Rick?
Wait.
A half a mill. 260 something for a mill, give or take?
Yeah, I think it's 240,000. Half
So
of that's 240.
we keep
Half of
that fund balance to the point where we set that limit at the high limit. And then whatever's left over, we can tell them to get creative and make the town function well.
So half a mill puts 500,000 back into your budget.
It's not I don't think I could find an argument against just that simplicity.
Can you do that, though?
It's easy.
What?
Huh?
It's not really that hard. I mean, as soon as you guys start plugging all the numbers in, there's a lot of money to move around. There's a lot of money to move around that it literally, I can give you about 10 different options on which way you guys want to go. The money's there. We have to move again, right? Tonight's not the night, but you have money that we have to move out of fund balance.
Yep.
You got about 400,000 you have to move out of fund balance. You're getting 700,000 back from the school. The regular spend went up a little bit over 100. I mean, I would think the townspeople would want 350,000 back myself, half the school. Last year, the townspeople paid 8.3 million
Yeah,
and change, 8.362. So I think if taxes were set $8 million for the townspeople, the mill would probably go down 0.7. And if I think they're gonna see $700,000 for the school and wonder why they're only getting 240. Yeah, I think 350. Again, we can look at it later.
Yeah.
But you still have plenty of money we can move into capital to fund. Because reading right now, the budget that you guys have, capital is not funded completely.
right.
Right.
But
We'd
it
have to
doesn't
use
look
up
like
almost
there's a
none.
lot left, to fund for what we were speculating for capital.
Well, then we did our fund balance at what were we at last year? We're at 14 or 12.
Well, I think we knocked.
We're at 12, and I think we said we didn't want to go below that threshold. Was that our
10.
lower? 10 was our
No,
lower threshold,
10 to
14 was the upper. So we split the middle,
Yeah.
and the auditor is very happy with our 12%.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to bring it up tonight, not really knowing what I'm talking about, but wanting to alert that we should have our minds up,
Yeah.
an opportunity.
Oh, no, Phil, I totally
And
agree.
when it
Yeah, I think we all.
presents itself.
Not very often we get gifts like this.
Right.
No, but we should be wise about it. I mean, I totally agree. That's what I was saying last week. I think,
That's what's in the,
So our,
with the goal.
put some capital, get
In
some
our
capital
departments,
banked away,
our
put some in capital, so you have it.
Trying to sign.
we're not
On
hacking
site.
back any departments for the
Yeah, let's do that again.
17% we
Novel
control.
idea.
We only control 17%
Yeah.
of the actual budget, right?
No,
That's a novel idea.
So the
Um,
12% you're talking about is the amount of the budget that goes toward capital, so.
Fund, or
But I think
Our
if we
fund
gave back
balance.
half a mil, and if,
we came up
Rick's
with.
saying a
number,
little
so
more,
Scott proposed it
and that
years ago,
would-
10 to 14.
and showed them
We
that
run
they
about
would get
12% of
capital,
the
I think
actual
we could get a
budget
budget
we
passed
put aside.
easily.
Rainy day
That's my
fund.
feeling. As long as I get signed, I just don't wanna see us
The
not.
auditor's very happy with the 12.
Yeah, drop it,
Some major
whatever, the half
event
mil or
probably
whatever,
can't-
but show them that they're getting something else.
Every line on that budget.
Right. But I mean, if Rick can eke out even like a 0.7, then you're almost
Salaries, you can't touch oil. We only have
really
7%
justifying pretty good.
Town budget that we can.
You know?
So, yeah. And that just raises it higher.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything else? Yeah, everybody got, I sent around the budget that Rick sent out last time, so
Yeah,
y'all have it, copy of it.
so the next meeting is the 23rd.
Third.
Okay, good.
And today it is 8.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:12.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. So moved. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
Have a
Rick.
good one, guys.
Thanks, whoever else. So, yeah.
So just on a side note, do you think we should show up for the public hearing in case Region